Hi, in this video we're going to go over how to edit your Canva template, how to duplicate your sheet for printing, how to score your tags and wraps, how to trim them, and we're going to go over our favorite tools. Let's get into it. When you open your Canva file, this is what it looks like. I'm not going to go over all of the Canva how-tos. There's tons of videos on how to use it if you want to get more in depth. I'm just going to simply cover the basics of how to edit what I've already designed. The change text is already there. You just double click on it and then you can change your name. So I'm just going to change it here to Little Knitting Company. Let's say you want to delete an element. It's really easy. All you do is click on it and delete it. Or you can also click the delete button on your keyboard. If you want to recenter things or move them around, you can select either one item and move it, or you can shift click and select multiple items and move them around as well. And you'll notice that there's a few different lines here. Like you see this pink line that's dotted going through the center. That's telling you that these two items selected together is centered vertically on this middle square, which is kind of what I would want to do if I would have deleted that element. Let's say you want to change the color of an element on your wrap or your tags. All you have to do is click on it, go up to the text color in this case. If you want a specific color, you can click on the color wheel. You can enter a specific hex code if you have one, or you can drag the color line here and select whatever shade of the color that you want. Let's change the font. You can click on it and then go up here to your font selections. You will see some of these fonts have a little crown beside them. This means that you have to be a Canva Pro user to use those fonts. All of the designs that I use that we sell for our templates use only free elements, so you will never have to pay to use it in the format that we have it. If you want to change something though, you definitely can. There are tons of free fonts that you can use and elements that you can use, but just know that unless you want to pay for a Canva Pro account, if you don't already have one, you can't use the ones with the little crown beside them. Let's change this to Laura. It's one of my favorite simple fonts. Maybe I want to make it a little bit smaller so that it's more subtle. Let's change the spacing. You can go to this little arrow here. You can go to your letter spacing. Maybe you want it a little spaced apart and then a little bit smaller so it's really subtle. And let's just move it around so that it's recentered there. Okay. If you wanted these to match, you could also change them as well. Let's say instead of having text, you want to add your custom logo to your wraps or your tags. It's really easy. You would just delete the text part. If you're uploading your logo, you would want to go to Uploads. For me, I already have our logo in our brand file because we use the Pro account. So I'm just going to drag ours from here to show you how to use it. You can just scale it down to whatever size that you want it. I'm going to make ours pretty small so that it will fit in this area. Then I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And we're going to resnap it. Center it. There you go. If you wanted to add your own logo, it's really easy, simple to do. I've reset everything back to the original way that it was just to show you guys how we're going to set this up for printing. There's really two things that you have to do. You have to group everything together, and then you have to duplicate it to fill up your page. And depending on what type of wrap or tag that you have, you may have to duplicate more or less. This one, for example, is only 3 wraps on this one page, and I'll show you one that's a lot more complex here in just a second. So this is really easy. All you do is right click and you're going to select all of the elements in your design. Once you have this selected, you're going to click either group, or if you're using a Windows, you can click Control G as a shortcut. I'm going to duplicate this. Control D, or you can click this little button here. I like to do Control D. And then you're going to drag it until it snaps right on the edge of that other one. And you want to make sure that it's 100% centered, both vertically and horizontally. Then you're going to click Control D again, and it's going to duplicate it in the same place, just one more spot down. Here's another version of some tags that we offer. You will notice a big difference in the edges of these, and we will go over all of this later on when we get to the cutting and scoring, but for right now, we're just focusing on grouping and duplicating so that we can print it. So just same thing, right click, go over your design, group it together, duplicate. I'm going to move it around until it snaps perfectly in line with the other one. Duplicate again and again. So now we have our first row. We need to make this first entire row duplicate down 2 more times so that there's 3 rows. Let's do this whole row. You don't have to group this row. You can simply duplicate it, pull it down, get it snapped into place. And then we're going to scroll down a little further and we're going to just duplicate it again. And you will see everything should be perfectly lined up and ready to print. Now that we have your page ready to print, we're going to go over here to the share button, download, change this to PDF print, and RGB is fine. Then you're just going to click download. This is if you're using a home printer. If you're using this to print somewhere else, you can simply upload this file to whatever printing company you're using. But if you're printing this at home, go to print. If you have the option to do borderless printing or edge-to-edge printing, that just means that your print is going to go all the way to the very edge of the paper like you see in this preview. This is set up to do it this way so that it makes cutting and scoring really easy. Some printers don't have the ability to do this, and you'll see like some white space in between, and that's okay. You can still use those guides to do your scoring and cutting. It just may not be quite as easy as if they go to the edge. But if you have this option to do it, you definitely want to take advantage of it. And the best way to do that is to do like actual size or borderless printing, and every printer is going to look different. If you notice right here, it says default, fit to printable area, fit to paper, or custom. I have it on custom and 100% because it doesn't have the wording actual size, which is what I usually use. And I'm going to show you the difference between this on Google Chrome and also if you open it with Adobe itself. This is what it looks like from the Adobe screen. If you go to print here, the printing screen is going to look a little bit different than if you open it on Chrome. And on here, you'll see you have the option right here on page size and handling. Fit, we definitely don't want to do fit. Shrink oversized pages, we don't want to do that. If you have the option to click actual size, that's always going to be your best bet because it's the exact size that it needs to be. And then also on mine, my printer has the ability to do edge-to-edge printing or borderless printing. But to get to that, I had to go into the properties area. And before, I had these, if you see this little yellow line right here, I had these binding locations by default for some reason. But you can go into borderless printing. It'll give you a prompt most of the time. But this just makes sure that it's the full page. And if you have this option, definitely take advantage of it. If you don't, it's okay. And then that's all. You just hit print and you're ready to go. I'm going to show you guys real quick the difference between a borderless or edge-to-edge print and a standard print that's pulled in from the outer edge. This is a borderless print, and you can see the cut lines go all the way to the very edge, which makes it easier on your board because it goes right there to your cutting guide and your scoring lines. They line up perfectly. This one, however, does not go all the way to the edge. This type of print is probably going to be more common. It's not super hard to eyeball this. It's not as easy. However, it's not impossible by any means. That's why I say if you have the option, definitely take advantage of it. If you don't, it's not a big deal. You can eyeball it. Now we're going to go over some of the items that we use to make our printables even better. First up is the We Are cutting and scoring board. I purchased this from Michael's, however, you can purchase it on Amazon or other places online. It has a replaceable blade for trimming. It has a ruler at the top. It opens and expands, which I absolutely love. And it comes with a built-in scoring knife, although I will be purchasing a better one because this one wore down very quickly. Next is a corner punch that can round the corners for a more professional look. As you can see the difference here, the one on the left is not punched, the one on the right is. This is a 1/16 inch hole punch that's perfect for the stitch-on fold-over tags. We also like to use washi tape for our wraps, especially for those who do markets and have customers that want to take the item out to see what it looks like without damaging the wrap, and then you can reattach it without tearing anything. And finally, some worsted weight yarn to attach your fold-over tags. Let's get into actually cutting and scoring one. I'm going to be using our larger wrap for beanies. And if you'll notice, there's two different guides here. These are always going to be scoring. Here's a half wrap. Same thing. These are scoring guides. And then the cut lines are very faint because you don't want them to be visible, but they're there. And then this one is our fold over tags. There's a lot more on the page, so they don't go all the way to the edge like the other ones. But the scoring and cutting guides all look the same. To start, I always line this up with any of the two numbers. I look at the scoring guides as sets. You're usually going to have a set of two because it's made to fold there. And it does not matter what numbers that you do the scoring on as long as they're lined up together. And then whenever I do the scoring, I always reposition it again. Like I won't go ahead and score the other side yet. I'll move it, as you can see here, to be perfectly aligned with two of the numbers. And then I'll just go ahead and score that side. For trimming, I like to pull my trimmer down all the way to the bottom, as you can see here, because we're going to have our paper aligned at the top, so it'll hold it still, and cutting up is a lot easier for me when they're larger like this. So you're going to line up your cutting lines, which is kind of hard to see in the video, but they're perfectly aligned with the top cutting guide and the bottom. And then you're just going to hold your paper very still and kind of push it up towards the top for stability. And then you're just going to cut with your cutting guide. And then you're going to reposition it to cut it through the center line. Same thing, you just cut up. And this is what you're left with. So once you have your wraps cut out and scored, you're just going to fold. And that's what the scoring is for, to make it a lot easier to fold and it won't crease in unwanted places. Once you have it folded, you're ready to put it on your hat. This is designed for a super bulky beanie, and how I like to fold it is I just wrap in the two sides towards the center, place the wrap on top, fold it around, and then again I use the washi tape, but you can use something permanent or stronger if you'd like. I think a great way to package this is to do the pom-pom separate from the actual beanie. That way people can either pick out their own pom to go with it if you're to market, or it would just make it easier for shipping purposes. But anyways, this is how you do it. I have a lot of other videos that I'm going to be getting up as well, showing how to use and fold the sock wrap, how to do the headband, the more narrow wraps, and also the fold over tags. But this video is already so long, I didn't want to add all of those to this one tutorial video. I will link all of the products that I mentioned in this video below in the description. If you guys have any questions, you can email us hello@angieandbritt.com. Be sure to check out our website. We have all kinds of things for knitters and crocheters.